Well, I agree with what Senator Poggemiller said last. I think it's difficult to close a gap that large without taking a balanced approach. But that said, I think there's some things that we could do even better. Now, one of the things that the Chamber supported and that I supported and that we put into law together because it was through the override was the strategic management review of MnDOT. The challenge right now is that that work was done by people coming together, looking at how we could save money in MnDOT, how we could do things differently, and it hasn't been implemented yet. And I think there's a lot of things like that out there that have actually been reviewed, that we know what some of the things that we have to do are, but we have not seen the leadership to actually get it done. And I think that's a real problem here, because if you're going to keep asking people to come together around committees to find cost savings, if you're going to ask them to come together to restructure the enterprise of government and look at how to do that, and then you never take their advice and you actually never implement it, to me that seems like a breaking of trust with people. I actually wish we would do one of those strategic management reviews on every single department of state government. And start with human services, because that is technically our largest actual department in state government, to be able to review and say, how can we do it better? How can we modernize business systems to make this better so there's more efficiency and less waste? To me, that seems like a very good piece of what we should be doing this year, and it'll lay the groundwork in future years to be able to take those recommendations and actually implement them, because it is a huge budget crisis that we face again, on top of one after another. And to be able to solve the problem, you've got to think about some things differently.
Having said that, will there be new revenue in addition to reform and spending cuts?
I think that what we're going to do is we're going to look at the governor's supplemental budget. It's going to come next week, I believe, and we're going to try to find some places of agreement. We want to actually try to make some changes early in the session that will help our budget forecast in the beginning of March. For every dollar that we do take out of spending, it saves $2 later on. So the sooner that we start that work, no one believes at $1.2 billion. Even if today the governor had walked up here and said, I'm willing to raise some form of revenue, that we are not going to have to cut. So I think that we have to realize and really bring a maturity about this, that we do have to make some changes to the enterprise and be able to do it with reason. I have some doubts. I have some doubts that we can do it completely without proposing any new revenue. And I believe that there are fair ways to do that, and then there's some really unfair ways to do it. And frankly, I hear from too many people that are paying, 5 times the amount of the property taxes they paid 10 years ago, 8 times the amount of property taxes they used to pay. And to me, if you're going to raise revenue, then you should do it more fairly and do it in a way that is going to really, in the long term, help the state budget.